My beautiful viewers, you are in for a treat. Today, beautiful Natalie is going to do her beautiful masterclass. So let me start the show.
Thank you, babe.
So, my beautiful viewers, we are back. We are so excited. We're going to have a masterclass on forgiveness, about forgiveness by Natalie. She's going to give us a masterclass. And then I just want to let all of you know, down below in the show notes, all Natalie's details, her book link, everything is in there. And also, if you would like to join the Diamond Beauties Forever ladies group or Tanzanite Euros, our men's group, it's also down below. And then, my beautiful ones, I have quite a lot of supporters. All their details is also down below, and I call them my Slim Soul members. So please, just down below, click down below. Are you ready? And you know, my beautiful Natalie, I always believe that forgiveness is not for somebody else, it's for us. It brings that golden sparkle around your heart to let you even feel more amazing and more in tune and self-love to yourself. So all over to you, my beautiful one.
Amazing. I love how you describe that. Hello, beautiful audience, and my amazing soul sisters who have joined us from the Diamond Beauties community. So, this is going to be rather than having to really pay attention and really sort of be an active listening, because I tend to be like that and it takes a lot of energy. So I'm just going to, for me it does at least, I'm going to invite you to just ramp down. Just take a nice breath around this, what can be the heavy topic of unforgiveness. Forgiveness is very light, and if you've ever received forgiveness, you know how good that feels. So I'm just going to dive in here, and I'm going to read a lot of it because it's quite a lot. So how could we learn forgiveness if there was nothing to forgive? I heard this as a spiritual download. It happened around 2008. I was in the middle of an impossible situation. I had 3 volatile men in my life. I had my former partner. He was the father of my eldest 2 children, who had repeatedly alienated me from my kids. Then I had my present husband, who was trying to warn me about my youngest child who was with us and his father. So there were 3 men who was whispering horrible things to my son, my youngest dad, and unknowingly abusing my child, making him view porn, making him look it up for him. So the military man, his name was Tank. That's a lot, isn't it? each one of us sometimes has a lot of things. And oftentimes those crazy dynamics aren't shared. We don't share them. So we're holding them ourselves. We might be embarrassed. So I just invite you to share some of these secret things you're dealing with. But I'm going to carry on. So Tank would say, the military man would say, you're building a rod for your back. That's a biblical statement, meaning you're building a really hard place for yourself. That's a South African term, I think, building a rod for your back. He was African. So by allowing your son to be exposed to his dad, very complicated. So one rare time I had all three of my children together and we were with Tank and we were going to a water park, and I had the feeling in my spirit that it wasn't a good idea. Have you ever had one of those where you're getting the heads up, something I shouldn't maybe proceed? But even though you were warned, one of those knowings, you went forward anyways. So that's what I did. So something very bad happened. Tank was a former veteran, and he ended up attacking my eldest son. I'm sorry for the triggers here. He throttled him. And this allowed my eldest children's father to cut me off from them for the next 5 years. I had no contact with my kids. And understandably, he did that, even though it wasn't me who'd done it, who'd done the action. It was the guy I was with. So unforgiveness over those next 5 years was just red alert for me. I was boiling. I was still with Tank. Notice, of course, the absence of my kids. I was meditating on the ex who was keeping them from me. And so that event turned into 5 years until I was able to see my daughter after her graduation. And it's been 20 years since I had been with my eldest son. That happened with, he's going to be 32 years old. So I know a thing or two about forgiveness and unforgiveness and incredible bitterness. So let's just continue. So that was the most intensive bitter time. It wasn't new though. Okay, there's these threads throughout our life, and the roots didn't start there. The roots started long before, but it was the same flavor that had been between my mom and I, and that still was. So it was like the unforgiveness and bitterness just attracted more. And it increased my self-judgment, and I grieved and I judged myself for, not calling the police, for not making Tank leave immediately after he did that to my kids. It was the trauma. The trauma had frozen me. And so that's been a big one. Okay, so we're going to continue on. So I got to the scary point during that 5-year period where I was actually planning and wanting to hire somebody to harm my former guy who was keeping my kids from me. And the only thing that stopped me, I was thinking a biker, maybe I could hire somebody to teach him a lesson, but my spiritual beliefs that what goes around comes around would come back. And I'd already had enough. And so I chose no. And then eventually I started getting sick. Physically, I was feeling like I was withering. And it was just, I hit the wall. And it was just like, I have to let this go or I'm going to die. I felt like I was going to die. Okay, so his actions felt very unjust. So have you ever been in a similar situation, even Not necessarily the same, but just a situation where something unjust happened. You can just hold it lightly and just sink into a memory. Could be a small thing, could be a big thing. Take a deep breath. Just breathing some space around it. Breathing light around yourself so that you can just be in a beautiful, comfortable bubble of light as you explore this theme, this loving theme, because forgiving is loving. It's loving to ourselves, and it's loving. We're extending the love out. So we're not fountaining the bitterness through, because we are a fountain, and whatever we fountain through, we're feeling it first. So, okay. So remembering a time. Thank you for hanging in with me. So you needed forgiveness, or you wanted forgiveness for yourself, or you wanted the one who had harmed to admit that they had. Is there some place like that? Could even be a child who's lying. It just drives you crazy. You know they're lying, but they won't admit it. Could be a small thing. Okay. And you felt like you needed them to admit it in order to let go, in order to release them. So just take a deep breath, giving more space around a situation, if you happen to have one, that you're thinking of. And you can just float out of your body as if you could and become like a fly on the wall of that situation. Do you guys have a situation or any instance in mind? Just a nod or a heart? Something? It's okay. It's okay if you don't too. So as that fly on the wall, you're observing that ugly interaction. It could be lightly ugly or really ugly. And just observing the other person, how they're breathing, the look in their eyes, and yourself, seeing how you are reacting. Or just, it may not be you. So just the feeling of that moment, whatever it is, from the place of wisdom, and what you do differently. If you could just, like with a magic wand, just like add, you could give yourself a voice like a fairy godmother. You could just ding. The little kid, maybe you were a little kid, didn't have a voice. Maybe you could just say, stop what you're doing. Or you might want to see, sometimes we might want to see, we see ourselves in some addictive behavior. Maybe we're eating a bucket of ice cream and we don't want to do that anymore, and we beat ourselves up. So, so these things happen. You know, we judge. Accidents happen. We all do things. So some things we're in a lot of trauma. We make decisions. Maybe we had a medical procedure that we're judging ourselves. So there's so many things. So just breathing deep down into our belly and just seeing ourselves with grace, if it's us, just like as on a cloud, a cloud of grace. So letting go of the holding on to these bitter feelings, okay? So So I just walked you through this situation, this bitter feeling. So if we could just exit that completely. So let's say all that is inside of a plane, and the bitter is inside of the plane, and we are just going to jump out completely. And that plane is going to just zoop, it's gone. We're jumping off of that whole thing now with our parachute. And we are going to pull the cord, okay? We're going to pull the cord, and it's going to go, and we're elevating. We are raising, high above. So a heavenly perspective on all these human interactions, okay? We can do that because in our brain, just like as with unforgiveness, we can, with our imagination, when we're imagining, our brain goes there. So it's real. It's a hot air balloon now. It's not a parachute. So we are elevated now. We are up high. So just letting go in your body. And you can look up and see the colors of your hot air balloon. You can see the design. You can see the blue sky above it and the expansive feeling in your heart in that space of now. Because now these things are all in the past. Those feelings and memories, they're all in the past. There's really nothing here unless we bring it here. So it's really up to us what we want to do. Okay. So we're still in the hot air balloon. Stay with me. So it's a safe space. It's you. Unless you have your pet with you. Okay? There's no expectation or requirement for you to take any action at all in the forgiveness space. Okay? And you can just allow any tension to dissipate. Enjoy the view. But with that is the truth that taking no action is also a choice. And actually is an action in itself. So just deepening into that truth. No judgment, just release. This free will zone. It's up to you. It's up to me. What we want to do, how we want to feel in our life. We can carry those things or we can release them. So just wiggle your shoulders if you want. Take a breath down into your belly. So can you remember a time when you received forgiveness or extended it? So the receiving, yeah, just give me a nod if you've ever received forgiveness. Thank you, Sanet. Yeah, feels good, doesn't it? I remember a time I did something, yeah. And my friend, she was just like, it's okay. It was a pretty big thing. And she's like, it's okay. That's love. That was love. It brings tears to my eyes. And maybe you have somebody in your life who's easy to forgive. Do you? Who's easy to forgive? For me, it's my youngest son, who's very easy to forgive. Compassion just takes me over, no matter how nasty he is. I don't hold on to it because the compassion just comes in. How's everybody doing? Okay. So it's worth exploring the bitter and the unforgiving are really like slivers in our soul. And it feels so much better when they're removed. So let's go forward into a sweet space with little children. So have you ever observed a little child get hurt? Maybe it was an accident where we actually hurt them and they feel it. They express it. They cry. They get into it, right? They're like, ah! But then release it immediately. And then their joy and their love flows in naturally, and they're just hopping and bopping. And maybe it's a function of their cognitive development too, because maybe they don't have the capability to remember the past when they're small. They don't replay the moments. And that's what we as adults tend to do. They carry on. They just return to equilibrium if they're not interfered with. So our emotions and holding of them, I see it as a scale. And you can even see it in your mind's eye if you want to just relax, if you can, if you're not driving. So I see a scale. It's a scale of justice. I'm a big justice person. And the goodness is on one side and the harms are on the other. So I'm seeing like unforgiveness is a place where some form of harm happened. I'm not sure how your scale is, but just in your mind's eye, you can maybe get a feeling for that. So on one side, we may have piled up offenses, the bitterness, the judgment towards the one who's caused it. In our perspective, maybe we've directed the bitter towards ourselves. Okay. I believe that the only thing that can remove the weight of unforgiveness is mercy and compassion. That's my belief. So just play along with me. Even you can just play along. It might not be those exact qualities for you. So I'd like for you to just play along and envision someone you feel you cannot release, that you maybe haven't forgiven. Is there somebody who's done something unforgivable? And maybe even if it's not to you, maybe it's somebody in the world that you've heard about. Or it could just be ourself. Let's just bring it into ourself. Maybe there's let's just narrow that. Maybe there's just something about ourselves. Maybe we really judge. Maybe you're not there anymore. And that's great if you're not there anymore, if you have cleansed that out. But this is really about letting people off the hook, not for their behavior, but for ourselves, so that we can be free. Okay. So I believe forgiveness is a spiritual act. For me, during those heavy things, my mom being the worst, the deepest, hardest wounds for me, in 2019, I really started, it was like I needed to let go of, I had been carrying it too long. So for me, I relied upon the example of Jesus on the cross. And I just envisioned after he was put on the cross and nailed to it. I mean, this still happens today. It's horrific. But this is the part that he said, forgive them, for they know not what they do. And, you know, when people are in spiritual darkness, when they're in pain, they do things. It's just, I've done things that too, because it's, instead of having the finger pointing out all the time, it's to turn it back, taking that accountability. And yeah, I've done it too, and that helps. So I'm just imagining like the grace and the power of Christ saying that, like, as you're being tortured, to have that power to say, to love that much. I just find that awesome. And so I just felt like, okay, if you can do that, I can forgive the things. I can forgive my little things, you know, even if it was years of hurting, it's still not comparable to that. So I've come to believe that forgiveness is a high spiritual test. It is one of the biggest love tests. And I believe that no experience is without learning or purpose. Every single one. Something's learned. There is a silver lining of some kind, even in the most horrendous things, in my belief. So there's a light and an empowerment that comes from gaining the capacity and the capability to forgive. So this is cool. Let's just switch gears here. So our nervous system is our command center. And believing we can, who here believes that they, even audience, do you believe that it's possible to forgive? And maybe, well, if you're here this long, you're interested in forgiveness. So do you believe it's possible? I actually didn't think it was possible for me to forgive my mom. Thank you, Julie. Yeah. And it happened miraculously, but it took, 500 tries. So if we believe we can or believe we can't, we're right. So Dr. Caroline Leaf is a neuroscientist. And when we're living in love and joy and all the high frequency emotions, do you guys know this? Leaf-like structures grow on our neurology. You probably all know that. Isn't that cool? Literally like a plant. Our brain has leafy, flexible structures in love, joy, and all the high frequency stuff. But when we are in the hard emotions, the hating, the judging, the hard stuff, and muscle testing also reflects this. When we're hating versus loving, our muscles are weak. So, but with long-term focus, our brain will actually grow thorn-like structures that excrete poisonous substances into our system. But here's the good news. Neuroplasticity, when we change our focus and we decide, when we choose, and I never thought I had a choice. But I discovered that I did, and I'm coming to that. Okay, so when we switch our focus, cycles of 21 days, to 3 of those, if we can just stick with like it's like the train track wants to go to judging, whatever, hatred, and we just go switch the train track to gratitude, to something positive, those thorns will fall off. And when we remain committed to a path of gratitude and the other things, just choosing to let them go, to stop talking about it, stop sharing about it, stop writing about it, that those neurological pathways will literally grow over. So it'll grow back over like it wasn't even there. So for me, I've experienced a loss of access to the feelings of hurt. So that's like the gift that comes from this. So I'm really excited. So to stop going down the memory paths, I realized what I was doing, that I was taking a walk down to the poison pond. I call it a poison pond. And I would drink from the poison water. drink. And then I would feel so depressed, right? And so my divine design was twisted. But I was completely unconscious that I was walking down the path and sipping from these thoughts and memories. So we're built for love. And when we move into the quantum field, it is like a web of interconnectivity throughout the cosmos. So when we are remembering, you probably all know this, but it's great to talk about it or think about it. So when we remember someone we have not forgiven because we're on that subject, or we could be thinking about somebody we love because there's no time or space in the quantum field. It's all now, instantaneous. It's like a cell phone. That emotion is like a cell phone that's pinging the cell tower. Each time that thought happens, at a quantum level, we are connecting and staying connected to the object of unforgiveness or love. So it's a bond in the quantum. But we can sever it. So that's the good news. The one who harmed us, it could be ourself though. It could be ourself, and we could be looping. I used to loop the Ferris wheel, the awful Ferris wheel. But we can break the cycle. So I'm just deciding where to go here. Thank you, Sanet. Yeah. Sorry. Yes. So neurology. When we're tapping into an emotion, it's like little firecrackers down our neurology. So we're firing the emotion. And a wonderful memory, say we can change it. Yes, it happens with the, that's why it's important to be selective with our memories if we've got a tendency towards depression. So we want to go to a vibration of something else, joy, fun, so we can activate that neurology. Okay. Thank you for your patience. So the most surprising thing about my forgiveness journey is that over many months of continually refusing to meditate on bitterness, the hurtful memories don't exist any longer. Have you experienced that? It is a delightful surprise and an unexpected one that I'm repeating myself, but it's worth repeating. So the neurology regrows and reconfigures and becomes leafy and green. And that's neuroplasticity. So yes. So this soil, okay. Oh my goodness. It's okay. There's so much here. So the once we change, once we're on that track, that new neurological track, and we're tending it like a garden, our brain garden and our heart garden, and the thorns have come off, and we're no longer getting all cut up, and neither are other people, as long as we remain in that. And we're developing the positive habits of self-compassion and other compassion, the other person. And we are refusing to be offended, because I really believe that offense is like the seeds of unforgiveness. So that's like the tripwire that we can get hung up on. So here's the last part. I think we're getting close, aren't we, Sanet? Yes. Excellent. Okay. So yes, offense is like the soil. So here's what we can do with our soil, because it's gardening season. Thanks for hanging in with me, ladies. So now it's time to dump some beautiful bags of grace into the soil, as if we could. So grab your bag of grace. I don't know what kind of tapestry it's like in. It could be like a satin sack of like grace, or I don't know, velvet, gold fabric, real gold fabric, and dump it. Dump that bag of grace into the soil around your feet, because wherever you go, there you are. And at your feet, you're going to carry that grace. So, and even around your feet, you can kind of dig it up a little bit, and you can grab another a bag of joy. Yeah. So grab your joy. Well, I don't know what it is. It could be music. It could be yummy food, like whatever embodies joy for you. It could be fashion. It could be body treatments. Yeah. Throw that joy in there. Whoo! You could even rub it on. Maybe it's a special lotion or potion. You just put that joy on. Move your shoulders. Shake off any tension from those bad trips of unforgiveness, because we're in joy now. We're choosing joy. Okay? So in every area of your life, you can be grateful. You can choose gratitude. And that's how we just stay out of all that junk, is, the challenging, sticky feelings, gratitude. So we can, yes. So what I realized through this experience is that unforgiveness is self-destructive for me. Thanks, Julie. And I refuse to be self-destructive anymore. It was hurting me. So thank you for being with me and exploring this realm of love is for giving. Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Thank you. So there was a question from Julie. So Julie, please unmute yourself and ask Nattolie.
Okay. I was wondering if you would share some techniques you were talking about how to break those chains. And you just shared one. You said to go into gratitude. So that's really good. So do you have any other techniques to share with the audience, maybe?
Thank you, Julie. Other techniques for forgiveness. A good one is to actually look at the offender, because sometimes they're harsh offenders that's really hard to forgive. And so looking at them like a little baby and seeing that they weren't born that way, and that just to have compassion that something may have happened. And I find that helpful. And I actually heard the other thing that I was told as I was forgiving my mom, learning to let her go, because I keep wanting to I keep wanting to be unforgiving towards her. It was like, no, it's like, let her go, let her go. But I had a session and they told me that it was like a spiritual session. They said she was incapable of doing anything other than what she did. And that really helped me. And sometimes the person who does the harm is malicious, and sometimes they're just unconscious. But either way, it's up to us. I think the baby analogy really helps. Thanks, Julie.
Thank you,
Thank
Natalie.
you.
I'm so sorry I laughed with the baby because this is the first time I think about that. So thank you so much for that. And I'm sorry I laughed, but with the shock that you said, think to them as when they were a baby, I was so shocked. So I love your unforgiving to bitterness. Unforgiving and bitterness goes hands in hand. And I love the words you said. It's the same flavor. And then you want to do more and more of that. Self-judgment, and that made you sick. Forgiving is loving. I love that. And then I immediately thought about Tino. Forgiving is loving. Path of gratitude and let it go. Vibration of joy will activate the neuro simplicity, and I maybe that neuro pathways, maybe that was what I was trying to write here. And then to have a habit of self-compassion. I love that as well. So thank you so much for that. And then naturally, I love our ground fertilizer with gold and whatever you want to put in love, joy, and surround you with it, and step on and step through it in whatever you. And I love the portions when Julie and Coach Eve started to put some essential oils around or on there. So my beautiful Natalie, that was truly amazing. One of my biggest things I love to do is write forgiveness letters, and then burn that forgiveness letters, and then make sure that ash is also leaving my property by washing it away. So there's nothing. And then the most important part is let go, let God. And one of the things about 3 or 4 years ago, I helped quite a lot of people on my butterfly monarch program. But then I realized that most people want to go back to that thoughts of where they were, because it was easy to feel like a victim, if I can call it like that. And then I really understand if you don't let go and let God. And then I changed my wording when I did the classes. I said, you actually is giving God a slap in his face to say, I don't trust you enough to take my forgiveness, the people I forgive, I'm taking it back. And then it's just like that poison is back in your life. The person that you need to forgive had forgotten what they did wrong to you long time ago, and you were holding on for dear life. So that was such a beautiful I think masterclass, in a way that you brought your personal story in as well. And I know it took lots of courage to share that with us. So thank you, my beautiful Natalie. We've got a few seconds left. So my beautiful Laura, how are you feeling?
Oh, I totally appreciate Natalie's, sharing everything. And yeah, it's always a good point. And that's something I had to learn a long time ago, because I had a habit of holding grudges and stuff. And it's just way too much negative energy. It doesn't serve myself well. It doesn't serve anyone well. So it's a great reminder. Thank you, Natalie.
Thank you. My beautiful
nice.
Marie.
It was awesome, darling. I love it. Forgiveness is very, very tricky because we often think forgiveness and reconciliation have to be one and the same, and they're not. And I love that. And I read something recently that said, it's like carrying a suitcase for miles and miles and miles. And then when we eventually put it down, the road behind doesn't change, but the journey ahead is a lot easier. And I love that. But thank you. That was wonderful. You did great.
Beautiful.
Wow, you're so sweet. Thank you, Marie.
Thank you. I love that
It is
suitcase
later.
story. Yes. I'm so sorry, Nattolie. I'm speaking over you. Julie?
Yeah, The Road Less Traveled was a book that first introduced me to forgiveness, and I forgave my brother in that moment. Like, it taught me that you have to look for compassion, like you were talking about. And I'm just as a joke, when you're talking about seeing him as a baby, I'm like, leave him in the diaper for a while. Just to lighten it up a little, I have to crack a joke. But I just thought of that. But some things are just like a lot harder to forgive than others. Like some things are easy. You can, some are much deeper, and it takes repetition and more than one try, right? You have to keep and remember Jesus' words, forgive them for they know not what they do. And thank God that we are conscious, be grateful for that, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Thank you,
Begin
Natalie.
within. Begin within.
Yeah.
Where have I heard that before?
Thank you, Julie.
Sorry.
Tina, and for you, my beautiful one?
That was beautiful, Nattolie. You are beautiful. I thank you for sharing your heart with us. And you said some really profound things. I mean, we are energy. And when we're reflecting what we don't want, then we're not going to change that energy. So I really am glad that you brought up the neuroplasticity too, that when we do change our thoughts and our emotions, we literally change the cellular structures within our bodies. And I just want to share that I do mirror you in the sense that the biggest thing that helped me bring forgiveness to a family member, my father, was to understand he literally wasn't capable of being different in that moment. He was not capable. And so it wasn't a choice of whether or not he could even give me something different. He couldn't. It wasn't possible for him. And that really changed my life profoundly too. So thank you for sharing that with me and with the audience. It was beautiful, and I appreciate you. Yeah.
Oh, thank you. That's
Thank you.
amazing. You're amazing. All
Thank
of you gorgeous ladies. Thank you for
Tina.
attending.
Can I please, sorry, Nattolie, I'm still quickly want to go through Coach Eve and Moya. So, Coach Eve.
Nattolie, that was spectacular. Thank you so much for sharing your heart out, speaking the truth, because they say truth will set you free. I agree with Tina and Marie as well, and everybody else who said the hardest thing is to forgive. The hardest thing is to forgive and to acknowledge that person who you need to forgive, they maxed out their potential and they cannot do more in this lifetime. Certain times when we are coming to earth, we have a level of understanding, and when you evolve and when you grow, your self-awareness, your divine activation is on a higher level, frequenting on a higher dimension, and some people cannot reach that. And we have to forgive and we have to understand it is okay. And I really like that you highlight that out, because that was a true point for you as well, to have that shift, to understand and to forgive. Thank you, Nattolie.
So much. Thank you so much.
And
You ladies you all make my day. Thank you.
And Moya, are you able to come on camera and unmute yourself, my beautiful one?
Hi. Hi. Thank you so much for letting me in, because I couldn't attend it in the beginning. Yeah, forgiveness. That's so difficult for me. To forgive people who you said they were not capable of doing anything else, but sometimes it's difficult for me because I thought they were conscious of what they were doing, and that's the difficult part for me. I think in the first place, I had to forgive myself for letting people treat me the way they did. So I'm still working on that. Thank you so much. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. It's a life work. It is a life work. I think it's the most important work. So just one inch ahead, and if you keep going, you will break through this.
Thank you. And Nattolie, how are you feeling?
I feel amazing. I was a little bit, I was a little bit, challenged by this. And I feel wonderful. And I want to say one last thing. And for me, is that okay? We must receive. This is the message I got. We must receive forgiveness. So for me, that's from God. That's from Christ, because I needed forgiveness too. So this is maybe just for me or maybe for you. We must receive forgiveness to have forgiveness, to give forgiveness, because we cannot give what we do not have, right? And it's not human. It is supernatural. Forgiveness is supernatural. So I hope that you just pursue the journey, because it's so worth it. It's worth every bit of effort to be born into freedom. Break free from that bitter. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, my beautiful Nattolie. Thank you, my beautiful ladies, for being here. And in my beautiful viewers, I know that you have loved this episode. And if you want to know more about forgiveness, please visit Nattolie's website. And she's got an amazing things that's happening on her website. So I want to wish you all a beautiful day. We're not dancing, we are on Zoom, but all of us are going to give you all a kiss. Ladies, are you ready to kiss the viewers? 1, 2, 3. Thank you, my beautiful viewers. Bye.